Reddit says what patients are saying or shows what patients are saying, and then TikTok shows what they're watching. And so I think if we can wrap our brains around those two things, that sort of helps frame this new type of content that we're talking about today.
Hey there, welcome to the Dr. Marketing Tips Show. I am Jennifer.
And I'm Corey.
And today we're going to talk about healthcare content strategies in the age of TikTok and Reddit, which are tools that as a practice administrator, you're probably not even paying attention to that much.
You know, it's funny. This is so timely because I was talking to someone just the other day and we were going through, I was saying, oh yeah, I'm getting ready to do a Reddit strategy. And it was a practice manager. And she said, oh, that sounds awesome. What's Reddit again? And
It's the
yeah,
truth.
it's funny. Yeah, because you're right. Like these are different platforms, but they're 100% reshaping content. And to me, so let's actually just start there because I think that is a good question. If you don't know what Reddit is, um, it's a gold mine of just raw sentiment from people. It's basically a network where people can go and they originally it was like meant to pose questions and then get answers, and then people started to form communities in there. So there's subreddits about like literally anything that you're interested in,
Everything.
right? And so Reddit, it really has become this hotbed of what people are really saying and thinking. And then I think we all kind of know what TikTok is right now. And so Reddit says what patients are saying or shows what patients are saying, and then TikTok shows what they're watching. And so I think if we can wrap our brains around those two things, that sort of helps frame this new type of content that we're talking about today.
Totally. And, like when we look at like 70%, even more than 70% of Gen Z and millennials are using TikTok, YouTube, and Reddit for their health insights, like how much that means in this evolution. In fact, don't you have an example? I know it's not specific to Reddit or TikTok, but just an example of how the younger generation is using social as part of their communication strategy. Like, didn't you get like a Snapchat or something this week?
Yes, I was
Like,
in a
old.
meeting with our client success managers, and one of them was sharing that she had a question about something, and so she did a screen recording on Snapchat, and then sent it to another one of the client success managers, and I had to stop her, and I was like, we have this tool that we use called Loom where you can screen record. I know you've gotten like literally hundreds of those, but her first instinct was to go to Snapchat over Loom, which is a tool that we pay for so that they can use. But I digress.
But it just shows how the way that we always thought people were looking for healthcare is totally different. And like now there's these other avenues that you've got to be paying attention to. Plus, if you take the time, the insights that they will provide you are gold mines for content moving it forward.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing about Reddit because again, it started as like an answer community, and so people just sort of inherently trust it. So like we were saying, there's subreddits about everything. So for example, like you could go to a subreddit about chronic pain or orthopedics or weight loss or whatever. And you'll see people vent about the care that they didn't receive or share frustration or share positives and talk through tips and things that really like matter to them or that they wish that they knew before they had a surgery. And all of that is just content gold, but it also talks about what's missing in surveys and follow-ups. So it can do a lot of things. It can help with reputation, it can provide content. There's a stat from Edelman's 2024 Trust Barometer that says 62% of consumers say they trust, quote unquote, people like them more than branded healthcare content. And when you apply that to Reddit, I think, you sort of see everyone that's in that same subreddit as you as someone like you. So if they're venting about it or they're sharing tips or saying, oh, Dr. So and so is so great, because there's Reddits about locations. So it's not just particular procedures or specialties. There's subreddits about a location, and in that, people sometimes will say, "Hey, I just moved here. I'm looking for an orthopedic surgeon." And if somebody responds and says, "Oh, Dr. So and so is fantastic," like I said, that stat says it all. 62% of consumers say they trust people like them. Just because you're in the same Seattle subreddit or whatever, that means you're like them. So
Well, and
it's
it's
interesting.
interesting to like it'll be interesting to see how it kind of unfolds because Reddit has been brought a little bit more to the forefront in the conversation related to like GEO and AEO and which is the generative engine optimization, the evolution of search, the agent the AI version of search. And Reddit's basically said you can't crawl our site for free. And like it'll be interesting to see how long we'll have access to that data as kind of this evolution of AI unfolds. But I think at the end of the day, if your content strategy hasn't adjusted or adapted to these platforms or the tone that they require, you're missing out on a big opportunity to build trust and to get those patients to your website. And so let's take a look at Reddit. Let's take a look at TikTok. Let's take a look at the value they're providing us in terms of insights and then adjust that data to adjust our strategy.
Yeah, 100%. And again, I want to just mention too, like Reddit can be 100% used for that. It's fantastic for that. But you should also look at it to help spot gaps in care or improve messaging or service delivery or whatever, because people use it. They are very candid in what they're saying. They're very honest. Actually I saw another stat that said that 50% of people with chronic conditions are projected to use online communities like Reddit for support.
Yep.
So there's just endless kind of possibilities there that help with content, whether it's something you're producing or you're just reacting to certain things, you're trying to get ahead of, the next quarter and a promotion that you're doing. I think that it's, again, just a gold mine.
Well, Reddit's like an unfiltered patient focus group. And
100%.
that is there. Go look at it. It's free listening for marketers.
Yeah, and it gets over, I think it's like 1.6 billion visits per month. So it's not like this tiny little thing. It's massive, and it's just funny that it hasn't been catapulted to the forefront like a bunch of the other social networks have been.
Yep. And I will say the big takeaway as it relates to Reddit of things that you can do is assign somebody or even like your AI agent, not AI, but an agent in AI to go review Reddit weekly. You can extract common concerns, your confusion points, themes, things like that. And if you don't know how to do it, I can promise you by the time that this podcast comes out, we will have a tool that will do this for you. Because we're leaning heavy into the agents of like using and trying to automate certain things. And this is a listening tool is something you can do. And this is where AI really could help be a benefit for you in terms of listening to what's being said.
Yeah, and then just kind of shifting gears, TikTok is, so we just talked about being able to read this. TikTok is like the same thing, but you're watching it. It's a visual search engine. And a stat that I know I'm getting old because it bothers me, but 1 in 3 Gen Zers use it as their primary health resource, which is crazy to me. But that's the number. There's 150 million plus US users, 1.6 billion worldwide. It's nuts.
Well, and it's because it's a visual search engine. It's just taken over. Whatever happens to TikTok, the data's there, and there's so much it can tell you about, how to market your practice. And the type of content you put on there is different. I'm not even suggesting that you go get onto TikTok. I'm suggesting that you look at how people are using TikTok to search for that health information and then adjust your content strategy to meet them where they are.
53% of users aged 18 to 29 trust health info that's on there. So in other words, the content that's showing up, it has like authority baked into it. So if you're looking for content, to your point, Jen, that's a great place to be because of what you're able to do. And it has become a search engine. And because of that, it's really easy to sort of filter those things up where you can find out what people are interested in, and then even the content that really works for them. So we know TikTok is, short form video, you want a relatable tone, those kinds of things. But these like, face to camera clip and things like that. If you can look at those things and then leverage that, even if you're not on TikTok, again, because you know that it works and it's a format that people are used to seeing at this point, and it works for them. So even if you don't want to bite off a new social network, but if you can look at, oh, this is how this particular FAQ question was filmed, well, then take that and you can use that sort of idea on the content you're already doing on the social networks that you're already on, and then you're just sort of taking best practices and applying it to where you've already built your house. You built your foundation on Facebook or Instagram or Threads or whatever.
Yeah. So for TikTok, what's the big takeaway?
Um, I I think the big one is to use a native tone. In other words, just talk to someone like they're a friend. Um, if it feels like it's a marketing brochure, it's not going to do well. If it feels like you're providing real information and your friends just kind of hanging out, going to do pretty good. And
Yeah.
then another one would be if you're going to do it, put some training audio behind it because that seems to make these things take off.
It's crazy. It's crazy, like figuring out what the algorithms are. So let's talk about combating marketing skepticism with like that Reddit style honesty. So like again, which we talk about all the time, overly polished healthcare content creates distance. Today's patients want transparency. They don't want you in a suit and tie if that's not how you are every single day. They want to feel like they're talking to their friend.
Well, yeah, and also I saw a stat that said that 47% of people worry that online content, just in general, online content, is just trying to sell them something when they're
Yep.
told about it. So if you can be authentic, be yourself, and you're not completely buttoned up with like very explicit CTAs, and you're trying to like guide them down a path, people can read through that. So yeah, I think if you are thinking of topics, again, things that make sense is, what I wish I knew before surgery, or this is what happens after XYZ injection, those kinds of things. That's providing value. And then you present it in a way that's conversational. So you're sort of building up that credibility right away. You're giving some good information. You're showing some personality. And if you can do all those things, that's how you kind of win on these new networks. And again, I would say apply all that stuff to what you're already doing. So that's how you can win on a new network. But that's probably how you can win on your website or Facebook or whatever anyway.
It's true. It's true. Like why your PCP referred you to physical therapy. No, it's not just a formality. Like these are kind of the things that patients are asking. You can use Reddit, you can use TikTok to kind of find out what they're talking about, come up with your content strategy, nail it with native content, be kind of their friend. Don't make it feel like you're selling and you're good.
Yeah, borrow the tone of Reddit as an example. So you're helpful, you're honest, you're human, and then use that in blogs and emails or your lobby videos or whatever you're doing.
Yeah. So let's go into like the future, which is yesterday. And let's talk about like these are great ideas, but who's got time for this kind of thing? So let's talk about how AI and agentic AI specifically could help you automate the strategy at scale. Because I think that's really, where the AI is going to help us is it allows us to have, extra help to pull things together so we have time to think. And this is kind of one of the tools that we're building, but anybody can build it. It's just a matter of sitting down and figuring it out.
Yeah, so 30 seconds to explain what that means. So agentic AI is essentially AI that is like an autonomous type system that will make some decisions and can perform some set of tasks without human intervention. So in other words, you can just type a question or ask a question, and then some AI will go and do a thing. So if you can set up a system like that, for example, like a Reddit listening agent that will automatically scan a subreddit about orthopedics and summarize trends and questions and sentiment, well, then you didn't have to do that, but you reap all the benefits of that. And so that's how you can scale up, automate, and it's called agentic AI, more or less.
Yep. And each of these are different agents that kind of can work on your behalf. So a Reddit listening agent, maybe like a content brief generator agent, where it can take like what people are talking about on Reddit or what people are talking about on TikTok and then turn around and take that information for you automatically and feed you those ideas that you could then take to your doctors and say, look, I got to get these 5 quick videos done, answer these questions. And you know that it's research that's telling you these are why we're answering those questions.
Well, then you can even take that a step further and you can say, okay, so here are the topics. Now automatically build captions based off of those. And that's essentially like a video script or CTAs or whatever. And then you have this sort of like built-in content generator that goes right along with that. And again, that's something that you can scale up and will be automated.
Totally. I think you can do, you could use agentic AI, build yourself a platform native content builder. Meaning like after you kind of have the topics of what you want to do, you can use the agent to help you with, building caption sets, the hook ideas, the hashtags, all of the best practices on the various platforms. So you have a game plan going forward. So again, we're using TikTok and Reddit as the repository of how people are interacting and talking about healthcare. And now we're using agentic AI to help us come up with a game plan so that we can take advantage of that.
Right. That would all kind of get dumped onto a spreadsheet or something like that you could export and use when you're creating the content. And then another idea would be when it comes time to approve that content or schedule it or whatever, there's ways where you can automate it and it will, the agentic AI will route drafts to review to certain providers or to, whomever the like stakeholder of that thing is. And so again, like you don't have to sit there and actually write the email and say, hey, Lisa, would you go ahead and take a look at this thing and blah, blah, blah. And you save yourself 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there. And that's sort of the idea. It's these like small scale things that can build up and, before you know it, you save the hour of your day and you can focus on something else.
Yeah. And I think the big takeaway here is that now is the perfect time to start taking advantage of this for your practice. Now is when you should start experimenting with these low risk, high impact automations, especially when your marketing teams and your entire team at the practice is already drowning and overworked. And so now we can we see the information that's available. We have a way to go after that information and to come up with a plan directly in relation to it. So agentic AI and automation will help us get there. And now's a great time to dip your toe in the water.
Yeah. And again, if you're thinking that sounds really confusing, I would say, great place to start. Again, remember what we kind of said at the top, that Reddit reveals what patients are saying. TikTok shows what they're watching. So go look at TikTok, go explore Reddit, and then search your specialty or whatever your location is, because there's probably a subreddit for it, and then see what people are saying. And then fun fact, if you're looking at your location, you can also find a really good place to get some food because they talk about that all the time.
Okay, so let's just wrap it up here. Like, what can people do? 1 is explore Reddit. Yep. I would say 2, start small on video. 3, set up a system.
Yep, exactly. I was going to say, I think once you've actually started those things, set up some type of system. That can be with the marketing team, that can be just directly to AI. But then if you can sort of figure out I'm positive there's a repeatable thing that you're doing right now that you don't have to do. And so figure out what that is, start there, and then that's how you can sort of dip your toe in the water of agentic AI, because it's something that is probably pretty simple that you don't want to spend time anymore on and that you don't have to.
Yep, totally. So look, closing thoughts, patients aren't just searching on Google anymore. They're watching, reading, and engaging on platforms like TikTok, Reddit, Threads, you name it. And if you want to stay visible and trusted, you need to get content out there that meets patients where they are and it feels like it belongs on those particular platforms.
Yeah, I think that's the key. It's got to have the right voice, got to have the right format. And then if you couple that with automation, then you and your practice can kind of become the go-to resource before a patient ever picks up the phone. And that's the win right there.
Totally. Look, and if you want help setting up your content workflow, building out an agentic AI system, or just identifying where you could get started, we're here to help. So feel free to give us a call.
Absolutely. Good
luck. And with that, I'm Jennifer.
I'm Corey.
And we'll see you next time on the Dr. Marketing Tips Show. Thanks a bunch.
Bye, guys.
If you want more like this, hit like and subscribe so you'll always be alerted to new episodes when they come out. And if you want information about us, visit us over at insightmg.com. That's insightmg.com. We'll see you on the next episode.